There are a lot of fan-favorite minor antagonists in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Be it Whole Horse, Akira, Rizzuto, or even Ringo Roadagain. They all have an aspect to them that makes us love them as characters. Be it their motivation, or the reasons they do what they do, or their overall design that makes you just say, I love that character. So, I felt like I should talk about what is most certainly the overall favorite minor antagonist in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I think you know what I'm about to say, because I mean, come on. It's obviously
Mandam.
Ringo Roadagain.
All the world loves a lover. All the girls, every man's dumb meant to know. Joy of loving is the
男の世界にマンダムがある。Mandam.
From his introduction to his lasting impact on the two leads of Steel Ball Run, Ringo Roadagain is probably the fan-favorite minor antagonist of all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He's got the looks, the motivation, the stand power to leave a lasting impact on the readers and the characters themselves. Though, before we get into any of that, we should understand the meaning behind his name first. So Ringo Roadagain's name is comprised of two specific musical references. His first name is either from the former drummer and one of the only two surviving members from the mega hit band The Beatles, Ringo Starr, or Ringo, a song by Lorne Greene. His last name, Roadagain, is from the Willie Nelson song On the Road Again, of course. Now, a lot of people say that the name derives from Ringo Starr. Well, that might play into the fact that Ringo is kind of tied to being a surviving member of the Beatles, and Ringo Roadagain is tied to being a survivor in a way. But it also might be because Ringo picked his stage name based on the rings he wore, and also he had a huge influence by country music and Western themes. He also had a solo career which discography features quite a few country songs, and as we know, country has a strong connection to Western themes and movies. But this is only one of the possibilities of the origins of Ringo's first name. The other is a song called Ringo by Lorne Greene. It's a Western-themed song about a man who has survived a duel, only thanks to luck and the helping aid of someone around him. And he begins to practice for years at dueling until he becomes a master at it. But dueling is eventually what leads him to his death. This is as legit of a claim as Ringo's first name as Ringo Starr is, because of the Western appeal for Ringo as a character. Now, some may argue that Ringo Starr is a more legit claim due to the fame of Ringo and how Araki uses a lot of popular icons for his character names, but I would disagree and say that Ringo by Lorne Greene fits the character more than Ringo Starr ever does. Now for Ringo's last name, that being Roadagain. It comes from the Willie Nelson song On the Road Again, a song about staying on your own personal road to happiness and fulfillment. It also plays into his very country feeling, given that he is a cowboy in a Western setting. The actions and meaning behind one's road to happiness and fulfillment could be anything, but it is a place that you will return to many times over your life. For Ringo, his road is dueling. You also have the specific line of On the Road Again, which the song gets its name from, by itself is only repeated 4 times in the song, this being just the line On the Road Again. And this could be a reflection of the 4 separate duels Ringo partakes in his arc. You have his battle against the home invader, him against Gaucho, him against Johnny, and lastly, his final duel, him against Gyro. Now for his overall design. Some people might say it's a reflection of Ringo Starr, which is the reason they point to Ringo Starr being the reference for his name. But I can't disagree with them more. Ringo's overall design is more heavily inspired by the actor in the Mandem commercials, this being the American actor Charles Bronson, you fucking weebs. Bronson is very well known for his roles in a lot of early Hollywood Western movies. One of his biggest roles being one of the Magnificent Seven in The Magnificent Seven, the 1960s movie. But he really started to blow up during his starring role in the Death Wish series. Now, there's a lot of similarities between the man and the character, who people, I find it really hard to deny. You have both their masculine facial shape, they have their facial hair, their graying hair, the same haircut, similar childhoods. They were both shaped by the roughness of their past, and lastly, they were both considered loners, with strong ideals. Now, let's also not forget that Araki does love loner cowboy characters. A lot. It's one of the reasons that the inspiration for Jotaro is Clint Eastwood. Also, the fact that Whole Horse didn't become a crusader is because Araki didn't want to ruin one of his favorite character archetypes. Now, let's also not forget that Bronson has appeared in a lot of Japanese media thanks to the commercials for the Japanese cologne Mandem. Now, this is is important because Bronson was one of the first big American actors to willingly head over to Japan to make an international commercial for them. A lot of actors at the time felt that they would not be able to trust Japan due to connections from previous wars, and also because they felt that the money was only for the desperate, people who really needed money, not people who were already famous. Bronson was willing to put himself out there for the Japanese audience, and that made him into a very likable figure in Japan. Not to mention that Ringo is a lot like a character Bronson played in the Death Wish series, as they are both vigilante heroes taking justice into their own hands and their own revolvers. Now, for Ringo's past, he was born with hemophilia, which is a disease in which his blood does not clot at wounds. He grew up with a very hard life due to his war-deserting dad. His family was likely from a bordering state, and his father was drafted to the Union side. He most likely deserted because he didn't believe in what the Union ideals were, and he was drafted in 1863, when Ringo was about 8 or 9. This is because the draft happened in 1863. Meaning, in the modern setting of Steel Ball Run, Ringo is like 29 or 30, but when he was 10, his family was murdered by a trap-loving fuck who he killed in a duel for his life. But when he won, he felt a huge weight lifted off his shoulders. This rush somehow cured him of his hemophilia, which is an uncurable disease, so explain that. But it also helped him control his shaky nature. From there, he dedicated his life to duels, and how he views duels with pure murderous intent in the fairest way possible as the only way to truly better oneself. He calls this combination of values and ideals the true man's world. This true man's world is heavily inspired by the song Lovers of the World by Jerry Wallace, which is also the same song Ringo gets his stand's name from. This song pushes for living life in a state of being called mandom. What is mandom? Well, let's take apart the word. The dom in its name is the suffix dom, which is for domain. So, a world of mandom would be a man's domain, or something that makes someone a man. With lyrics like, all the world loves a lover, all the girls in every landom, and to know the joys of loving is to live in a world of mandom, and there's a place that is waiting for you, a world where the best in life is free, where time is always spring, happiness is king, the dreams you dream come true, when the one you love loves you, you're in mandom. They describe a person's life becoming better when they finally reach that state of being, that mandom. Now, where the original was just a marketing campaign to get people to buy some shitty cologne, but Araki takes these ideas and changes them into motivations for a side villain, but he didn't even stop there. He took that motivation for the character and made it fit perfectly for the motivation to create the stand that he has. The stand, of course, being mandom. Mandom is an undetermined, long-range, semi-humanoid stand. He got it 3 years ago before the Steel Ball Run race, somewhere in the desert, aka the Devil's Palm, meaning that Mandom is a Devil Palm reject. And its design is a large shoulder pad with a head in the middle. Its shoulder pad kind of looks like it's designed to look like an IV bag, and the tubing connecting to Ringo's body gives off the idea that it's some sort of medical equipment. This is because his stand is an embodiment of the ideals of the true man's world, which is what cured him of his hemophilia and the shakes. But it also allows Ringo to get exactly what he wants out of life through its ability, and the more he trains with it, the better he becomes at achieving mandom. This is because it's also heavily inspired by the Major League Training Brace from Star of the Giants, a baseball manga series that Araki apparently enjoys. But speaking of its ability, let's talk about its stats. Its destructive power is unknown, it has an A in speed, unknown range, an E in durability, a unknown precision, and a C in developmental potential. Mandom's main ability is that it can rewind exactly 6 seconds. No more, no less. Now, Ringo does use his wristwatch to determine this, because he uses it as a mental click, as he rewinds the hands back 6 seconds. Though, he does not actually need the wristwatch, and he can rewind it mentally, he just doesn't know how to trigger it mentally. Now, the ability is able to be used in rapid succession as well, because as Ringo states, it takes no stamina to do. And all those affected can retain all of their memories from the rewind, as long as they are aware that they are being rewound, because the rewind itself is completely unnoticeable. This allows two people who are dueling to change up their styles to the deadliest way possible. This includes Ringo, because Ringo is looking to overcome his opponents at their best, so he will rewind the fight multiple times until he is fighting them at their best, so when he betters them, he has bettered himself. Though, Ringo also has a fairness to his duels as well. He doesn't appear to use his stand against non-stand users, because in the duel with Gaucho, he does get hit. He wins the duel, but he still takes his hit and he doesn't rewind the time to heal himself. And before the duel, he tells his opponent to come closer or else they'll have a lower chance of hitting him. So Ringo always has a bit of fairness to every one of his duels. Not to mention, in a fight with other stand users, he does tell the other stand users his ability so he can make it as fair as possible. With this stand, Ringo then lives a life of nearly endless battles. His ideas of the true man's world are also very infectious to those around him, with characters like Johnny and Gyro falling prey to its influences. Now, one of the most important factors of living this lifestyle is it will lead you to your death. The end of this arc specifically seals Gyro's fate when Ringo welcomes him to the true man's world. Gyro will indeed reach the self-betterment that he also desires, but he will also meet his death due to the fact that this is the fate of all that follow.
Mandam.
If you enjoyed this video and like to support more videos like it, I have a Patreon over at patreon.com/MetiNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to enter your own true man's world, then you can go over to Funimation.com/show/Shimonetta, boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, and you can purchase yourself a copy of Shimonetta. This will lead you down a true man's path. Like, come on. It's perfect. And once you're there, I truly can welcome you to a true man's world, because only a true man owns a copy of Shimonetta, where I own 3. Also, scientists have proven that Shimonetta is the only true form of mandom that doesn't lead to you dying in the end, so come on, be a man.